You guys may be seated, and as you're seated, the kids can head out to Kids Inc., and that's for kindergarten through fifth grade. And if you're a guest with us, we just ask that you would check your child in the first time, and then next time you can just check them in. There's an iPad there, and they'll print you a little name tag, and your kid is good to go. And they have a lot of fun. There's always a ton of them, too, as you can see. They're leaving in the dollops. So, the dollops. That was a good song. Yeah, that was a good song. Well, let's dive right into this. We've been in this series called Forging Families, looking at how to have a godly family. And the truth is, we're all part of a family, and we've all come from a family. And some of us had good family experiences. Some have had bad family experiences. I got to spend the weekend, or I guess a couple days of the week at an event called Men's Encounter. And I tell you this, that there was a lot of brokenness. I sat with men, and I heard story after story of just how abandonment, father issues, broken families. And so there is an epidemic in our culture where families are broken, and generation after generation seems to have to pay that bill. And so we want to be a church that invests in family. We would much rather invest in your family than to invite you down to a block party or some event. We would rather see generations change through your relationship with the Lord. And so this series is really looking at that. We started with the most important thing, the foundation. If you're a builder, if you understand anything about how things are made, you've got to have a firm foundation. If one side's off, the house will slack on this side or it'll slack on that side. But Jesus Christ spiritually must be the foundation. If it's not, the Bible teaches us, just like that song, that the waves will come and eventually it will fall apart. But with Jesus, we can stand firm. And so we looked at that a couple weeks ago. And if you missed it or you want to hear it again, it's on YouTube. Last week we talked about you can build something and you can make it really nice on the outside. And if you've ever bought a house, inspectors come and they'll get really deep into the stuff. And you're like, it's really nice from the outside, but man, it's got some things on the inside. And what we can do as Christians is we lay that foundation, and as we're building it, we start to put on a face. I'm sure some of you guys can relate to that as you put on your Sunday face so you can come here. We've started a thing on Sunday mornings where we intentionally spend some time praying for you guys. What we realize is that people walk through those doors, and when they pull into our parking lot, the junk doesn't go away. The brokenness, all those things, they still show up. And we want to meet you where you're at. We believe God wants to meet you where you're at. And so we talked about just having a house that looks like it'd be the perfect house. And then on the inside, it's dead and dying. And we're going to spend a little more time talking about that. I think we can lay the foundation, and it can be Jesus. And I think we can build up the walls and not have a fake sense to it. What's on the outside is truly what's on the inside. But you know what I've realized? It's still just messy on the inside. I've got a picture to show you. If she'll throw it up, I think it's in there. Is it? Oh, there we go. This was Easter at some point, and I don't really remember what year it was, 2018. And we got the family there. It's beautiful. We're down in Kingsland Church down in Texas. And you can see we've got the young kids and my wife and I. And we shared it on Facebook. It probably had 18,000 likes because that's just how it goes. And I've thought about this picture honestly a lot. This is a picture that whenever I was thinking of this is the first picture that comes to mind, because this picture always spurs in me this thought. You look at that and it's kind of looks like a nice family. I mean, we probably got some things we could change, and my shirt is for sure a little wrinkly, and my haircut, honestly, you can't see it as well, but my haircut, I kind of grow just like a chia pet, and I needed a haircut, but I had tried to style it. But from the outside, most people would say that's a pretty desirable family. Let me invite you into the inside and what's going on in this picture. We are absolutely scared out of our minds at this time. We're down in Texas, not because we took a family vacation around Easter. We're down in Texas because my wife was doing treatment for cancer. We're renting another place because she's having to stay down there so long. The 4 kids have no idea if mom's going to live for a month, a year, no clue. Me and her, we're probably not necessarily fighting, but I can tell you this, it's as stressful as one could imagine it would be. But from the outside, it looks fine. But when you walk in, it's messy. And, it was of no sin of ours that caused the mess. Like, it wasn't something that we had done that it was just like, hey, now because of the consequence of your sins, you've got to deal with this. Like, it's just messy. And that's what I think when I think about families. Like we're just going to be a mess. And we don't have to act like we have it all together. Like, the truth is this, really nobody has it all together. It doesn't matter if they get on Instagram and they share the picture and they hashtag family goals. It doesn't matter if magazines show up and they write articles. The truth is, at the end of the day, every single family, every single person's got some junk that they're going through. You can look at biblical stories of families. Cain, he murdered his brother. Noah got drunk and exposed himself. Abraham lied to protect himself, created generational tension. Jacob manipulated play favorites, and he tore his family apart. Joseph's brothers, they sold him into slavery. David's household was marked by scandal, rebellion, and grief. Mary and Joseph, they literally lost Jesus for 3 days. And you can just see that every family is not perfect by no means. And those stories are just proof that in spite of our mess, God still works through us. God hasn't given up on your family. I don't really know, like, if I was to walk through the door with you, what your mess would look like. Sometimes it's a little mess. Like, sometimes you can get it cleaned up real quick before someone shows up. And sometimes it's like a really big mess. Like, marriages are on the verge of divorce. Families are crumbling apart. Financial stress is so high that you don't know what to do. The tension in your household is so thick that even the mailman can sense it when he delivers your mail. Like that's what some of it looks like. But I want to tell you that God hasn't given up on your family. He's not given up on you. He's not given up on your situation. And the truth is this, you shouldn't give up either. Jesus, he's a redeemer. He's a restorer. He's a rebuilder. He takes the things that are broken and rebuilds them to where they're usable. So no matter what your family looks like today, the challenge will be to put that in his hands, to trust him. And so here's your first point. It's a mess because of this. It's broken. Romans 8 is our text today, and it starts out like this. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together with labor pains until now. Not only that, but we ourselves who have the Spirit as the first fruits, we also groan within ourselves, eagerly awaiting for adoption, the redemption of our bodies. Paul, writing this chapter in Romans, peels back kind of just the curtain of what's really going on. And what he shows us is that everything is just broken. Like everything is falling apart to such a sense that he says the whole creation groans. And it's not like a groan like you're like upset that you've got to do something like, oh, I've got to do this. It's like a deep cry. It's a pain. He compares it to a labor pains. I have no clue what that's like. I've never been through it. But what he's saying is this, it's just all of creation. Nobody is exempt from it. Like, do you understand that struggle isn't just for poor people? It's not for rich people. It's not for white people. Like struggle's for everybody because it's broken. Marriages struggle. Kids rebel. Parents worry. Schedules overwhelm. Emotions overflow. Like all of that is the effects from the brokenness. And Paul says we've all got that going on. But I want you to know that the groaning is not meaningless. He compares it to labor pains. He could have compared it to anything. He could have compared it to a guy that was dying. He could have compared it to somebody that had their leg amputated. He could have but he compared it to labor pains for a specific reason. When you go through labor pains, at the very end of it, they hand you your child. And they said, would you like to hold your baby? And all of a sudden, you're like, man, all that pain, maybe, I don't know, I wasn't there, but all that pain, it was worth it. And you may not feel it in the immediate moment, I don't really know, but at some point, the memory of the pain fades away, and you remember the child that was produced through the pain. That's how it is here on earth. We groan like all creation, but for a reason. There's a reason. There's a purpose to the pain that we go through. which means that whatever heartbreak you're in, there's a horizon to it. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're suffering, like there's a shelf life eventually to all of the pain and sufferings that's here on this earth. Now, I used to think that maybe as a Christian, life would be easy. Like, not like just like, I'm not talking like be rich because you follow Jesus, but just like, not going to be like really hard. Like, it'll be okay. Paul says here that even those who have the Spirit in them groan. That even Christians who are sons and daughters of the Most High, even Christians who have the Spirit that dwells in them are not exempt from this. And so for us, we've got to try not to waste that groaning. We've got to try to let those things that we go through drive us closer to Jesus, not further away. We've got to attempt to let the things that we go through deepen our desire to one day spend all of eternity in heaven with Him. It should remind us, honestly, that this isn't our home, that there's something after this that we're waiting for. And so I don't know if you sit in here, you're single, longing for connection, if you're married, fighting for intimacy, if you're parenting, just feeling overwhelmed, or maybe you're an empty nester, feeling forgotten. Let your groaning lead you to grace from the Father. Find that He is more of enough for whatever situation you're in. And just understand this, you're not crazy. Like, you're not alone. Like, we're all in this together. One day, though, God is going to redeem all of this. And so while we have this mess and none of us are exempt from it, I want you to know we can have hope in this mess. He goes on in Romans 8:24 and says, "Now in this hope we were saved. Not hope that is seen, but hope that is seen is not hope, because who hopes for what he sees?" Verse 25, "Now if we hope for what we do not see, we eagerly wait with it for patience." You guys ever clean, like not just like surface level clean, like organize a garage or clean out the pantry, or like you've really got to clean? Like I used to do this with my bedroom. Like my mom would say, it's time to clean your room, and every like 6 years you've got to like deep clean it so you can find stuff you lost. And so as you're cleaning, you're pulling everything out, and somebody, no matter what, comes by, and they say, "Whoa, I thought you were cleaning." And you just trust the process. Like there's something going on here. You don't see it, but the end, what you're going to see is like, I'm actually am cleaning. Now, sometimes you get tired halfway through and you leave it worse. Like that happens. We're not talking about that. We're talking about when you actually see it through and it's done. Yeah, everyone's like, yeah, I've been there. And you see it through and it's done, and then that person comes and says, "Oh, this looks really good." That's what Paul's talking about. Like we're in the middle of that mess, and from our view, it kind of still looks like a mess. I literally remember times as a kid sitting in the middle of my room. I had drug everything out and I was organizing it, and I'm like, wow, what did I do to myself? But then you press through and you're like, this is amazing. Like I actually know where like one pair of socks is at. Like Paul's talking about having hope in something that we do not see. And it's not wishful thinking. Like, it's not like, man, I'm really just wishful one day. No, this is confidence. Like, you have confidence that He who has started a good work with you is faithful to complete it. Like, you have confidence that He who says, I am at the right hand of the Father, that I will come back for you. You're confident in that. It's not vague optimism. Like, it's trusting in a promise that is yet fulfilled. It's living in the already, but the not yet. Like, it's hard to hold on to, though. Like, it's really hard to hold on to, like, when things are a mess. Like, whenever you get that phone call, and it's a diagnosis that just shatters your world, or that child that you loved and you've raised is now gone estranged, or you feel like everything's unraveling. Like, it gets really hard to hang on to hope that we cannot see. But the kind of hope we're talking about says God's still writing something in your life. It says that this final chapter for you has not been written to hold on to what you cannot see. That He's not done with you yet. But fear creeps in every single time. And it whispers, what if you do mess them up? Like, what if those kids you're raising, like, what if you really do mess them up? What if you make them worse than you are? Like, what if culture wins your family? Like, what if they never do come back to the Lord? What if this season never gets easier? And you know what that does? It paralyzes us. But hope mobilizes us. Fear locks the door. But this kind of hope we're talking about, I mean, it kicks the door wide open. Fear looks inward. I'm not enough. I can't do it. Hope looks upward and says, I trust in someone who can. So thinking about families, I was thinking about my family, but it led me to think about families in the Bible. And I was thinking about Esther. Esther's an amazing story you can read in the book of Esther. And Esther's family life is not one that you would say, man, this is like a perfect family. Parents were dead. Her uncle Mordecai raises her, and she gets entered into a beauty pageant, and she's scared. And one of the laws that's put in place is they're going to kill all of her people. And her uncle says, like, you need to say something. If you don't, it's going to go really bad. And it's that famous line that we get in Esther 4:14, for such a time as this. And what we believe from that text is like Esther was born for this moment. And it got me thinking about us, about my family, about you guys. And do you know that like your family was born for this time? Like it's kind of hard to even comprehend that God could have, in his infinite wisdom and in his ability, he could have took you and placed you at any time on the time frame. Any time. Like, he could have placed you in the early 1800s, the 1700s. Like, you could have been back in biblical time. And my small brain does not understand this at all. But that for some reason, he chose for such a time as this that we would be born. And then he chose for such a time as this, I would have 4 children. Now, fear tells me, oh, man, this is a hard life. Like, what do I do? But faith says you trust a God who is powerful. You trust a God who has chosen for your family to be born for such a time as this. And it tells me this, that we're not raising like our children like by accident. Like God has appointed our children to be born for such a time as this. He's appointed you to be born for such a time as this. What that is, I have no idea. I have no idea what God has for you guys. But I don't believe that it's just mundane going through life so that you could check boxes off to one day stand before the Father and he said, well, what did you do with your life? And you say, well, I was a really hard worker and I went to church on Sundays. So we wait with hope. We press through the mess, knowing that God has us here for a specific reason. I want you to know he doesn't need your family to be perfect. He doesn't need perfect dads. He doesn't need perfect moms. He doesn't need perfect husbands. But he does need faithful ones. Ones who would say, God, for such a time as this, you've called me. Now we're in the mess, and we have hope in the mess, but we also have a helper in the mess. He goes on to say in verse 26, in the same way, the Spirit also helps us in weakness, because we do not know what to pray for as we should, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us with inexpressible groanings. And he who searches our hearts knows the mind of the Spirit, because he intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. The Spirit in our weakness helps us. When we don't know the words to say, when we can't muster it up, the things to say, the Spirit stands between us and the Father, speaking on our behalf, speaking the things that we can't. And when life comes and it just knocks the wind out of you, there is the Spirit to stand with you, for you. And so God gives us that. In our weakness, he gives us the Spirit, so that as we're walking through this mess, that he would say, here's my helper. Here's somebody for you to walk to. And the crazy thing is the Spirit is 100% God. Like the same, we sing that song, the same Spirit that did all the amazing stories that we read about in the Old Testament and the New Testament is the same Spirit that now lives in us. That's an amazing thing. And that Spirit is the one that's able to help you. I'll tell you, if there was somebody that I wanted in my corner when I'm not enough, which is more than you would ever imagine, it's the Spirit of God. As much as I want to have a strong friends and strong family and a strong unit of people around me, I want the Spirit in my corner a lot more than those other things. And so he helps when we run out of prayers, when we're too weak to worship, when we don't even know what we want anymore. The Bible says the Spirit stands and intercedes for you in the mess. So what does this mean for your family? Well, first, it means you don't need to be perfect, just Spirit-filled. You don't need to have polished prayers. You just need to have an open heart. You don't have to parent or even live alone. You have a Spirit that intercedes and lives with you. But it also means we will reach the end of ourselves. At some point, we are not enough. And when we reach that, there the Spirit is to help. To help us pray, to whisper, He still loves you. To whisper, here I am. The last point is this: God will use your mess for good. Verse 28 says, we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God, who are called according to His purpose. For those He foreknew, He also predestined to be conformed to the image of His Son, so that He would be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And those He predestined, He also called. And those He called, He also justified. And those He justified, He also glorified. We could spend a lot of time talking about deeper theologies in those verses, that word predestined and the way those things look. I'd love to sit and have coffee and we can dive into that as much as you like. But what I want you guys to see today is that God is in control at the end of the day. And He'll take your mess and He'll give it purpose. Like, I was thinking about this. He is the only person, the only thing that we can trust in that would take our brokenness, all the issues that we have, all the things that we've been through, and take them and use them for good. There's nothing else in the world that promises to take brokenness and use it for good. Satan tells you to hide it, to not let nobody know about it. God says, hey, you give it to me and I'll take it and give it purpose. The only one who can weave together grief and grace, mercy and struggle, and sanctification. But I want you to know that while we're in this mess, that working all things to your good does not mean easy by no means. Smooth sailing is very rare when it comes to the Christian life. You can read story after story. You could probably tell me story after story of things that you've went through as a Christian, and they're hard and they stink when you're in them, but it's far from smooth. But we should be steadfast. So Romans 8:31 says, if God is for us, who can be against us? You know, this is more than a motivational phrase. Like, this should be a banner over every Christian home. If God is for me, who can stand against me? And if He's for you, that means He's for your marriage. That means He's for your kids. Like, He's for healing in your home. He's for your home in general. Like, and it doesn't remove the chaos. It just reframes it. Like, it just says in all of this, like God is ultimately for me. Like, it says He's so for you that it goes on in verse 32 and says this: He did not spare His own Son, but gave Him up for us all. How will He not also with Him grant us everything? If God gave Jesus up for you, like, do you not think He's going to continue to take care of you? Do you not think He is on your side? I mean, Jesus was His only Son, the Bible teaches. It teaches that they were in perfect unity in heaven, looking down on all of this. And Jesus left heaven to come stand in our place. And the Father let Him go. That's love. And that kind of love doesn't give up because you've messed up or because you've got sin in your life, or He doesn't give up because your marriage is on the rock. No, that kind of love says, like, I'm here for you no matter what. And so the challenge to you guys is, whether you're a single parent, a struggling spouse, or a weary grandparent, just to come to Jesus. That He loves you in such an amazing way that if you've never known that kind of love, I'm telling you, it will change your life. At this men's encounter, it's an all men's event. That's why they call it the men's encounter, duh. you go, and this was a smaller one because it was on a Thursday, Friday into Saturday. And so we had like 670 or 660 guys that went there. And they put a screen up. There's no band. You just sing with the video that they've got going on. And Aaron could tell me the name of the song. I don't remember, but it's that like, I've seen Cancer Melt Away. I've seen Too Good to Not Believe. I knew someone would know it. But let me tell you, it gets to this part where it says, I've seen addiction go away. I'll tell you, this room erupts because there's so many men who are standing in there that had battled with addiction. And what they did is they came to Jesus, and their testimony after testimony. I was addicted to meth. This guy was an auctioneer. For 13 years, he was doing auctions and meth. Like, I didn't even know those two went together. But he did, and he was doing it. And he says, listen, I gave my life to the Lord. I never did meth again. A guy struggled with alcohol for years, says, I gave it to Jesus. Like, I came to Jesus, and I never struggled with it again. And I'm sitting there in my small pea-brained mind. I'm like, really? Like, you just never struggled with it again? And we sing another song like 5 minutes later, like, don't tell me he can't. Like, don't tell me that the God who split the sea, don't tell me the God who helped or defeated death, like, don't tell me he can't defeat addiction. And I'm like, yep, I get it. And that's the God today that stands here and says, I love you, I am for you. Will you come to me? So bring your family, your burdens, your exhaustion to Jesus. You know, Jesus has already decided you're worth redeeming. You're worth rescuing. Your marriage is worth redeeming. Your marriage is worth rescuing. It's worth rebuilding. But you have to decide, is it? Is it worth? So the challenge is to repent and believe and receive his grace maybe for the first time in your life. Maybe some of you guys just need to come and you need to lay down sins that have separated you from the love of the Father. I don't know, but I know the altar is open, and I told my wife I was going to do this so she's not going to be caught off guard, but this will be a little bit of a raw emotion to you guys and really a challenge to you guys. About a month ago, and so that was 2 weeks before Easter, my wife and I, we get into a fight. Like, now let me tell you, it was nothing scandalous that you'd read about in the news. It was no huge, no newsworthy sin. Like, it was miscommunication and stubborn hearts. And what happened was that miscommunication and stubbornness like turned into like a 2 to 3 day argument. And like the tension in the house was like high. Like, I'm telling you, it was high. We weren't talking unless we had to. Like, maybe if one of the kids cut their arms off, we'd be like, you deal with it. And I was, literally, we were just fighting. And I'm sure you guys have been in these places. And I was driving, and I was going to go home, but I didn't want to go home because I was mad. And so I was like, well, I'll just go up to the church. And so I pulled into the handicap spot. That's where I park when no one's here, just so you know. I pull into the handicap spot, and I'm sitting there in the car, and I can see through the window the Life Point sign. And I was like, well, there's nothing I need to go inside for, and I've shut the car off. And it's just enough sun that it's kind of creating a little bit of heat that you're like, I could sit here like all day. Like, I'll just stay here, and I'm not going to go home because I don't want to apologize. And I knew I was in the wrong, but I knew my feelings were hurt. So I was like, I'm not gonna do it. Like, don't tell me to do it. I'm not going to do it. And so I text my buddy so that he could be on my side and tell me. I'm telling you, that's why I text him. He didn't tell me that. I thought it was rude. And I'm looking for a new friend. And I text him, and I just said, dude, I said, I don't even know. I said, we're fighting. I said, it's like 3 days going on. Like, and he writes back, and he says it's spiritual warfare that's going on. I text back, and I said, I know, but it's the truth is, I said, it's just gay. Like, and I mean gay, and like, it's just dumb. Like, it's just dumb to go through. I know. This is just the truth. Like, that's, and I'm sitting there like, I don't want to do this. And I don't want to fight with my wife. Like, I don't want to feel this tension. Like I just want Satan to leave me alone. And that's why I tell him, like, I don't want this. And he writes back, and he said, hey, you've been in ministry for a long time. Like, you think if your church is healthy, Satan's not going to start knocking on the door. I said, but I don't want this. Like, I don't want to do this. And at the moment, like I'm telling you, I felt the pain, the brokenness. And so I just kept sitting there in silence. Will I go home? Will I not? Like, I knew I'd eventually go home. I had to, but So eventually I do go home and we talk, and this is what we came to the conclusion of. We can stew in this silence, and eventually, like, it'll probably just get pushed down enough that it just kind of goes away till next time. We've done, like, trust me, we've done our fair share of that. And then the next fight, you know what comes up? The last fight. And if you're like me, guys, like, I forget about the last fight, but they don't. And all of a sudden you're in, like, yeah, you guys are laughing because you're like, yep, been there. Like, I'm in double trouble, and I don't even know what I'm in trouble for this time or last time, and it's rough. And yeah. Or we said this: we can just give it to God. We can just lay it down, and we can just say, God, you take this. You take this argument, you take these hurt feelings, like, you do what only you can do, and you restore it for your good. And that's what I did. That's what we did. And I'm not telling you guys this story so you can be like, wow, look how spiritual he is. Like, I just want you guys to see, like we're all living in this mess. And we've got to choose, like, do we lay it at the foot of Jesus? Or do we try to do something else with it? And I tell you, anything else you try to do with it is going to continue to deliver emptiness every single time. And so here's my challenge to you guys. I'll invite the praise team up. And as they're getting situated, and I'll talk to men specifically, and men, are you willing to bring your wife down, to bring your bride down and say, hey, I want to pray for you. I'm not praying that the family that we have is all that we want, but I want to commit my marriage to Jesus. Like, in front of my church, in front of my friends, I want to do that. Are you willing to bring your kids down and say, I want to pray for my kids, that we don't got it all figured out, but that we would be committed to taking this mess to Jesus every single time? Singles that sit in this room, or are you willing to come and say, like, I don't got it all figured out, and I do want to get married one day, but when I get married, I want it to be founded and rooted in who Jesus Christ is. And so that's a challenge. So I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to call my wife and my kids down, and we're going to pray over here. And I invite you guys to pray. You can pray in your seat, but I tell you, I invite you to the front altar to come and to pray for your family. So, Lisa, if you'll kill the lights, let's pray.